Hey, happy
Happy
Monday.
Monday, everybody.
I am a little under the weather. You may see me blow my nose a couple of times while we're here. So,
Yeah.
if I don't sound like my normal self, that is why. I also am in Florida. For those of you who noticed the change in scenery and background, when I left my mic in New York, for
We
all these
forgive you.
reasons. I may sound different than I normally do. Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. It is the last Monday of 2024. My
Indeed.
name is Janelle Villiers. That over there is Winston Broderick. We are your hosts on SayThat channel, where on Mondays we do where Mondays we do the Monday rundown. Don't make major life decisions when you're not feeling well. That's all I've
I
got
was
to say.
gonna say. Plus, that sounded like it was also a plug for the Other Side podcast, which is
I was
definitely
about to
acceptable.
say that, which will
So
happen
that's
later
good.
this evening.
There we go. So definitely check out the Other Side podcast, which is hosted by Janelle.
That being said, the Monday rundowns are a lot of fun for me and Winston because we get to talk about all the things we don't normally get to talk about on our Wednesday shows. Wednesdays are usually devoted towards business and entrepreneurship. And so Mondays, we get to talk about what's on your mind, things that are going
Mhm.
on in your life. And we look to other content creators, other thought leaders on the topic, and we all learn together. It is a lot of fun for me and Winston.
Absolutely. Let's jump into today's topic, guys.
Why do New Year's resolutions fail? Yeah, see, very timely. I think this is a great question. Thank you for sending it our way. I think New Year's resolutions fail because I think people don't prepare enough to do them. I think they think like something happens on January 1st and then you're going to like do the thing. I think if you set up a New Year's resolutions, you need to start doing the thing that's going to get you to the goal. New Year's resolutions are usually a goal, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to hang out with my friends more. I'm gonna eat more vegetables. I'm gonna exercise 5 times a week, whatever, right? But you have this goal to do, whatever the steps that you need to put in your life in order for the goal to manifest, right? In order for the goal to happen, I think you need to start doing that now, like December 30th now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or honestly, like the week before Christmas now, it should have happened. It should have started. You should have started putting things in place. So that way, by the time January 1st comes, you're already well on your way and it doesn't feel like a brand new thing. I think that's why they fail personally, is because people aren't preparing before. They just think like, oh, I'm going to do something new. When it's like, if you have this big, audacious, hairy goal, and please keep them, keep the big, audacious, hairy goal, but you think you don't have to like somehow change your way of being or your habits in order to accomplish that, like that's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. I To piggyback off what you said, I think there's the lack of plan. So there's not much of a plan, and if there is one, I agree. I think there is some sense of magically things are gonna shift when
Yeah.
that day, when you cross the calendar. I would also add that some of the goals I think are too large.
Mm,
I like what you said about, oh, I'm going to start working out 5 days a week. And if your current, yeah, I guess, plan in terms of fitness is that you aren't working out at all, I think to start from maybe that point to jump to 5 days is where you're going to set yourself up for failure.
mm,
Or let's say to your point, the other one where you said about the vegetable, it may be if you're going to dump all the food out of your fridge and just completely it's like that jump, that big gap, that big change, it's too much of a shift in
mm.
what you've been doing. And if you could view, we were actually talking backstage before about like just even in like the long game and just thinking long term. Whatever this change is most likely something you're hoping to have become a new habit or a new, well, actually, I may not use the word habit, a new behavior. And in order to, I think, to solidify that, it's great if you could make it into bite size, something just smaller. If you don't work out, just go one day in the beginning of the year, you
Yeah.
know, and just have the mindset that by the following year you are going to work up to that 5 times, 6 times, 7 times a week, whatever. But if you could just say, all I need to do is get there for one day next week, all I need to do is do whatever, 45 minutes on the machine or however long. I'm gonna just, I think the idea of just these large goals is what throws people off. And if you could just make it a really smaller goal, it may not seem like you've gotten to where you're going, which is great because that's the whole thing. You'll have time to get there if you think of it that way. And then just to my earlier point, I think just people don't have a plan. I think if you haven't been doing that thing you've wanted to do and you believe, again, the year is going to change and something's going to shift, without some type of plan around whatever that's going to be, I don't think you're positioning yourself um, in the best place to have success the way you'd need to or would like to.
100%. Ah, so good. So good. Let us know what you think in the comments. We want to hear from
Please
you. Number one, what is your New Year's resolution for
say
2025?
that.
And number
Say that.
two, what have you been doing to get yourself ready to make sure that you actually accomplish that? Would love to hear in the comments what you're doing. My New Year's resolution for 2025 is, I normally am not really into New Year's resolutions. So this is why I pause. I'm like, what is my New Year's resolution? For me right now, it's being more in touch with my mentor. Shout out to
Oh,
Darren
nice.
Walker. We had a conversation this week and I realized something that I need to do. I've been independent for a really long time. I keep thinking like I need to do things for myself. I also think like, oh, I might bother him. And and that is an attitude that needs adjusting. And one of the ways
Mm,
to get myself out of that is to communicate with him more regularly, because I also recognize if I did that more regularly, I would probably see more success in what he's mentoring me in. So
nice.
my New Year's resolution is to be in more contact and communication with him.
Nice. I
Do you have
actually do. I don't. Yeah, I don't do that. Yeah, I let that go a long time. Not that I don't think there's not that I don't have goals that I'm looking to, but I just think the premise under which people set them up. I have goals that I've been working on, our channel, our other business. Those things, I just want to continue the momentum that's being built in them already. Yeah, my own personal growth in my own life. Those are, again, my mindset around something like this is these are life goals. I want our business to grow. I want to grow into other businesses that I'm not aware of yet. So I don't really sit down and have it in the sense of on the first I'm going to blah blah blah.
right,
So
right, right,
that's my I would say that's the only thing that's different. It's not that I don't have things I would like to resolve or change, and those things are still constants. I just don't use New Year's as my goal start
right.
any
Yeah,
for any of those things. So
that's fair.
yeah,
All right.
but
Well, we
what do we
are
got on
listening
deck?
to a group of people, or I should say an entity that we haven't listened to before, but we're really excited to hear from. They have a worldwide audience. They're called First Post. It's a news outlet.
Outlet, yeah.
Yeah. And we're really excited to hear from them and what they have to say about New Year's resolutions.
Let's do it, guys.
Have you ever walked into battle knowing that you will most likely fail? Probably not. Yet most of us are forging ahead, taking stock of 2024, prepping to do better in 2025, and we have a shared weapon of choice: New Year's resolutions. Well, it's that time of the year again. The days are shorter, the weather is colder, and the air is thick with vows to reinvent ourselves. It is self improvement season. 6 in 10 of us are making New Year's resolutions, despite knowing very well that most of us will fail. According to surveys, 88% people who set New Year's resolutions fail them within the first 2 weeks. And nothing spoils the start of a new year like a long list of promises you know you're going to break. So this time, how do we do better? How do we choose a New Year's resolution and stick to it? Let me give you the most obvious tip. Any resolution you make while drunk or crying on New Year's Eve should not count. With that out of the way, here is what experts say. First, figure out what not to do. Tackle expectations, your own and those that you have internalized. I'll explain that. Often we disguise self-criticism as self-improvement. We say things like, don't eat carbs, don't be lazy, don't spend so much money. Is this what your resolution sounds like? If it does, then it seems to be curated by someone who does not like you, because this is no way to motivate yourself. According to research, you're more likely to achieve goals if they motivate you to do something instead of demanding that you stop doing something. So the key is to reword your resolutions. Apparently, it increases success rate by 25%. Give it a shot. Now, despite all of this, some resolutions will get betrayed right away, and others will become monthly reminders of your ongoing failure. That brings us to the second step. Figure out what to do and how to do it in advance. According to psychologists, this approach has the highest chance of working. Think like an MBA graduate. If you gasped, let me clarify. This approach is a corporate strategy. It was devised in the 1980s by a management consultant. It has been criticized on several occasions. Critics say it is too goal-oriented, yet it is ubiquitous because data proves that it works. So if you aren't a woke flag bearer, I would like to introduce you to SMART. It's an acronym, SMART. It stands for Specific, Measurable, Attainable, Relevant, Time-Bound, SMART. This approach says, don't set endless goals. That's a one-way ticket to the downward shame spiral. First, be very clear about what you want. For example, instead of saying, I want to be fitter, set a more specific goal, like, I want to hit the gym 4 times a week. Second, have a goal that you can measure. Start small. It may sound counterintuitive, but small changes can lead to great success. And make the goal quantifiable, because without it, a goal is just a dream. Third, have a realistic goal. Think about the time and resources you will need to achieve it. Fourth, make sure that it's something that you want, not something that you should want. And fifth, set deadlines. Have bite-sized goals and a timeline. This is said to be one of the smartest ways to go about it. To choose a resolution that promises success. You see, a New Year's resolution is like an annual contract with yourself. It is automatically high pressure. And any time is a good time to change. So you can ignore the whole shebang, but if you do plan to go ahead with it, cut yourself some slack and know that with a little care and preparation, you can resolve to win your New Year's resolution.
Well, that was excellent. I like that she started off by
absolutely.
saying, don't try to actually accomplish the resolutions that you're making when you're drunk. I think it's a great place to start. And I really like that she said make a plan. I love that she came with like studies that have found what is successful versus what's not successful. And then ultimately SMART. I mean, Winston, you and I have heard of SMART goals.
Yeah, time and time again. Yeah.
Years now. Yeah, like this is definitely not new to us. And she is right. They have been around for so long that now people even say like, oh no, like don't subscribe to it, whatever. But I mean, just because something has become ubiquitous doesn't mean, or like it's so ubiquitous, it's almost cliche, right? Like just because it's cliche or ubiquitous doesn't mean that it's not good.
Worth still, yeah.
So there's still a lot. And to her point, right, the studies continue to show that you're more successful when you stick to that model. And so I love that. You know, it's funny because when I talked about going to the gym 5 times a week, in my mind, I was thinking that's better than saying I want to lose 50 pounds. Because it's like, that to me seems too wild. But more something more measurable than losing 50 pounds, because you know you gain muscle and then muscle weighs more than fat, and it's like a whole thing, right? So to me, what's a better goal is like, well, I can at least go to the gym. I said
frequency,
5 times, yeah. So just increasing my frequency in which I'm aiming to get more physically fit. You know, I know that ultimately by doing so, I will lose weight. And so to me, that seemed like a more, to her point, an attainable, like going to the gym a certain number of times a day, or working out, I should say, because I don't go to the gym, I work out at home, but working out a certain number of times seems something more attainable and more bite-sized. Now, to her point about time, yeah, you have until December 31st to make to 2025 to make that come true. And I actually think that's too long. To her point, right? It should be a shorter time span so you can measure it. It's like, all right, in 3 months, by March 1st of 2025, I will be regularly going to the gym 5 days a week. To your point, you can
Well,
start off the first week, maybe it's once a week.
yeah,
The
and then go
then
from
you
there.
move
Anything,
right.
if it's to your, if we use the example of the weight loss thing you brought up about the 50 pounds, you're right, because there's what we may not understand is what it's going to take for you to lose 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And but what you can do is, if you if you set the goal more around your frequency in the gym, it gives you an opportunity to reassess at the end of whatever period of time you want to, 90 days, however, and say to yourself, okay, great, over the last 90 days, here's what changes I've made in terms of my frequency. Let's assume maybe you didn't make any changes with your diet or any of those things. Let's
Right.
just talk about the gym aspect of it. So with that, I guess with that understanding of what those 90 days and how many times you went has given you, you can reassess and say, oh, now is it the frequency I need to increase? Is that something that's actually possible given my other lifestyle requirements or other lifestyle things that I have to take care of? Or your example, hey, I'm working out this many times, let me add 15 minutes. Those are, again, not only, I'm going to use the word easier things to track and measure, as to your other point, as opposed to, hey, I'm losing weight, I'm probably putting on weight, I'm put water, I'm doing this. I those are things that can, to her other point, to the woman's or the moderator's point, those are things that can lead to some negative feedback or negative
Yeah, that
emotional
was such a cool
experiences.
point you brought up.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that's going to take you off. I tons of people, just I remember, just the gym right now is going to be flooded with a lot of people who are making these goals. And what's always fascinating to me was just the idea of why won't they stay? And they've just invested money and those other things. And it's just that they started from a point of maybe not doing anything and then just jumped too far. Their body didn't like it. There is an adjustment period with a lot of those things. Even if we're talking about things outside of fitness, mentally sometimes it's challenging to get your head around certain things that your behavior that you've not been doing, and you need to give yourself grace and time to allow yourself to get acclimated to those things. So I really appreciated what she said and how she broke it down. And to your statement, we definitely are familiar with SMART goals. And I think they're a great blueprint to use if someone is looking for a structure or plan that may not have one. Obviously, you could always, like you said, you have Darren. You could also go get help. You could also find a person, a coach. I think coaching is something that in any industry is necessary. The most successful people tend to have coaches, and I use success in terms of just the terminologies that we use. And so there's nothing wrong in going out and finding a coach if you want to set a plan out. I think you should go get a coach if you don't have one for yourself or can't find some resources in that area.
Say that. And speaking of which, I have a masterclass coming up where I'm coaching people how to earn a lucrative income by becoming a best-selling author from scratch. It's coming up January 13th. You will find the link down in the description below. Please register.
Nice. Great episode.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Love to have you this week. Can't wait to see you next week. Until then, as always, remember that you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that. Be good, guys.